What about now?
Hello? I think it worked now.
Hey, awesome. Okay, I
Perfect.
just enabled it for everybody.
Yes. Okay. I did send her a Loom video. So basically it just had to do with the sidebar that pops up that you can expand or you can't expand. For a second, I couldn't see where the option was to expand it. And so when I was opening any app, it would just show me I guess the section where it gives you all of the knowledge-based articles. And to create a table from there was a little bit challenging to find where that would be. So I was clicking around for a while, and I think I ended up clicking um, the three bars on the top left-hand side, and then it gave an option to create a new table. But I just thought if every time someone goes to an app and it just what pops up is just the knowledge-based links and that's it, and there's no immediate icon or section right there on that page that says create a new table, I would think that's a little bit confusing. You can also access it after playing around for a while. You can also access it, I think it was something on settings, something app settings, and then you click around there and then there's tables, and then there you can also create a new table. Um, but what was weird was when I first logged into my apps, it didn't show the sidebar. And then when I created the Loom video, it did. Yep. So if you're here, for example, yeah, click any app.
And I have my sidebar hidden right now. Yep.
Okay, so this isn't what I see. I see something else. So maybe it's because you have these quick notes or
Yeah, you most likely are seeing when you first log in, like this app right here, which I didn't do
yes.
anything to the
Okay,
main dashboard.
yep. That's exactly what I see. So from here, immediately I'm like, okay, I want to create a table, and I clicked some of these links, sends me to the website. I'm like, great. I'm learning a little bit more, but I really just want to create a table. So from here, I was like, is there any way to have, if it can automatically just expand the sidebar? I know when you click those top three, but yeah, right there, it'll say expand sidebar. I wasn't seeing that for whatever reason. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it's too
Mm-hmm.
much on my mind. But in the beginning, when I was opening every app, the sidebar wasn't expanded. So I guess it was just a little bit confusing on where to find that, plus sign or wherever to add a table. So that was really the video that I sent to Marguerite. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, right now when you close it, you just hit the three lines up there to close the sidebar, but to open it, you have to actually hit that and then hit expand. I mean,
yeah,
that's some good feedback because I don't know, I don't remember exactly what our thought process was behind specifically that, okay, you close it on one click, but then to expand it, you have to do this. I think maybe it was along the lines of like sometimes people want to have a full expanded screen there,
yeah,
but they still want to have the options that are in the sidebar. So they would be able to click there and still get to the options and do things, but to expand it, they have that additional click there. Um, but I mean, that makes a lot of sense on you going into an application and not seeing the sidebar there and that being a little confusing. So maybe that is, something that we look into incorporate into the product. So when you know, when you go back, when you can close it maybe while you're in an app, but when you leave and come back into the app, it's automatically expanded.
yeah.
Um, I use that sometimes in instances of like, so if I go ahead and go into this form here, and I talked about this on last week's office hours, but if you go in and actually, sorry, go into here and you edit the form, this sidebar normally doesn't appear when you're looking at the form. So if you edit it here with both of these sidebars open, it's not really showing you what the full view of what it's going to be, because when I hit save, that goes away.
Yeah.
So the thing that I talked about on last week's office hours was if you go into here, maybe while you're actually customizing the form, you do close that other sidebar. So that way it gives you kind of the full view,
Okay.
while you kind of customize and everything. And then when you get back into it and you're actually using it, you go ahead and hit and expand. And I talked to the programming team actually about when you go in to customize a form, maybe it auto closes that left sidebar, but when you leave, it reopens it.
Okay.
But that's very good feedback because I mean, I mean, if you have trouble finding the options, then you're
And
gonna be challenged from building stuff,
I'm like half asleep, but I honestly didn't see the expand sidebar. I don't know.
That sounds like a good demo option then. Even just flashing that, at the beginning of the recording, saying that you got that follow-up question or something. Because if one of us runs into it, it's likely that someone else has similar confusion or disconnect. So that's a great example of something that you could show us while we're recording today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of because I didn't, I'm right now looking at my other apps. Tables, okay, great. Yeah, I guess it was just that sidebar. It wasn't popping up for me before. And then one other thing. So when you click on, I'm trying to think. Okay, so if you're if you just click on any app, Justin, and then if you want to go back to this welcome back, can you click back to go back to the welcome? Yeah. So you just click the buildable. I click that too, and I always get a pop-up bar that is asking me to save some changes. And every single time I'm in an app and I go back to the homepage, that pops up. I don't know if you want me to share my screen, and I'm not sure how to get rid of it.
Is it potentially, let me see. So on my screen right here, I had this record already open on this table. And if I go ahead and just put in, like, I don't know, add something else, testing this field again, and I go ahead and click out of here, it's going to say, and I click continue working, and then I hit that, continue working. Is that the type of pop-up you're getting where it says continue working or discard changes?
No, I get the pop-up. Let me test it out again. 1 second. I get the general setting up my profile pop-up.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's because there's things on my profile I have to, let me see. I don't have, let me see. Sorry, I'm on my end. I'm trying to see.
Oh, you're good.
It doesn't say, yeah, I just had my name there, and then it tells me again to save it. Maybe showcasing my screen. Yeah, so that section, basically, sorry, I was looking at my screen. I'm looking at yours right now. Yep, so this section, every time I hit home, it pops up for me. And I have to just exit out to then go to one of my apps. Yep, so right here in this section, every time I hit this and I'm back here to my apps, I get that pop up for profile details. And the changes are saved, and it says they're saved because I can't click save changes. So I just have to exit out every time.
I think that's going to be one that, that type of thing. I don't know if I'll be able to address here on the office hours. We might have to get, a Loom video sent to us, showing us that, so that the programming team can look into that, because that might be something specifically to like your user account.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. One thing I do want to call out while we're here, just anybody that does watch the recording, this is only seen if you have access to multiple buildable accounts. You're only seeing one in here because I'm not signed into another one, but you're also seeing this drop down currently right here. That is a bug right now in the system. So this is actually coded for our mobile view. So it shows differently on mobile for you to be able to flip accounts, and it's just showing on the desktop version right now. So this is a bug that's got to be removed here shortly. So you shouldn't be seeing this, if you even do see this, drop down in two different places like this. So I just wanted to throw out that context for anybody that may watch the recording on how this is done. Were there some other questions that you had?
I mean, I'm just watching a lot of the videos, office hours, and also just on the YouTube. The step-by-step guides are really helpful for the fields and also the board. Yeah, I think I'm just figuring out how to create a sort of content calendar. And I think what I was trying to do originally was directly add certain data and pieces of information into the calendar but it wasn't allowing me directly to write into the calendar. It was I think I had to do that through fields and something else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's where, yeah, it wasn't allowing me to directly click or type anything else. And then in some of the fields, I did create different clients, like client A, client B. I was just testing for the fields. But then when it said, I don't know what it asked, something of type value or add a value. That wasn't allowing me to type anything in that box.
Okay. When do you know when you were doing that?
Uh,
Recently?
Yeah, earlier today.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go through. Let's do that, and let's that's a good use case. Let's work on just building a simple content calendar application right now for marketing.
Yeah,
So, I mean, kind of, I guess it's kind of a good use of this that I can show this, how I would do this if I was actually scoping out an application to some of our end users that may be seeing this. So I use this program sometimes called Draw.io, but you can use like Visio from Microsoft or some other things. But as an example, we'll just do we'll use Draw.io. So content calendar, and desktop. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna have to do here to figure out, and we're gonna do a simple one since since this is office hours and we have about 45 minutes left. But um, I went over last week in office hours, but to kind of recap a little bit, I'll jump into the simple contact manager that I built last week. Applications are gonna be made up of, there's the app, there's the overall app, and then there are tables of data. So in what we're looking at right here in this application for Simple Contact Manager, we've got the company contacts, interactions. All three of these are tables. And then inside of each table, if I jump into this one and hit new company, are fields. Tables are made up of fields of data. So this table right here has, as of right now, just 4 different fields: company name, phone number, email, and notes. And then when you enter data into those and create them, like I have this one created here, which is Buildable Technologies, these are called records. So you've got an application that has tables, tables have fields, and then when you enter data into the tables and create, individual piece of information, those become records. And then the last component there is that we want information to be transferred between tables so you don't have to retype it in. So as an example here, if I go to this company contacts and open it up, you'll see that it's linked to the company Buildable Technologies that's listed in the other table. So in order for these two tables to be linked like that, there's what's called a relationship, or we call it in Buildable link a record. And to take that one step further, if I look at this interactions table here, I'm selecting a contact from the company contacts table via a link a record, but it is also pulling down that contact's company and that contact's phone. So those are our lookup fields. But that's going into it a little in depth. But to first start out building an application like this, what we like to do, or what you should really do, is you got to figure out what tables and how those tables are going to be connected to each other. You don't even need to know the fields. You don't need to know, all that information, but we have to start scoping out the proper relationship. We call them relationship diagram of what an application would look like. So that's the tables, and that's how those are connected to each other. So that's what I use this for. So we do this when we build, for our other company, when we actually build solutions for businesses, we do a diagram first of what the solution is going to look like. But it's pretty simple. Anybody can pretty much do this. But as an example, I'm going to drag this out, and this is how we're going to define our tables. So in a content calendar for marketing, you're probably going to want a customers table. I don't know that I've ever actually built a content calendar from scratch for marketing. What else would you have? Maybe a campaigns table?
Yeah, you would definitely need like the platform that you're working with, being able to select which of the social media platforms that's being posted to.
That could be a table in it of itself, or that could be just a drop down field like on a campaign level. But if you want to run more reports against it, you probably would create that as a table itself. So you would have customers, campaigns, platforms that the campaign is going against, and what do you have, like different like ads that would come?
You would have content types.
Okay. This is where that becomes, kind of a question type of thing too when you are building a system like this, because it's like, do you need to make a table for content types, or can content types or platforms, as an example, just be a drop down field, that you create,
Yeah, so on one of the content calendars that I use, the content type is a drop down. Either, it's a graphic, it's a carousel, it's a reel, it's a Instagram story. So that probably would be a drop down, I would say.
Yeah. And then underneath the campaigns, do you have your different ads?
Yeah, so that's where it's a little bit different. I do more of the organic social media. So for campaigns, is not something I would include in a social media content calendar. That's for organic strategy. I don't know, Madeline, I guess that's maybe more of, if you're looking into your ad strategy, your emails, then that's where kind of campaigns, that's more of a holistic view, at least in the way I do my content calendar. So I know every marketer is a little bit different. So yeah, I think it just depends on how specific you want to get into the content calendar. And that's where maybe having sections that are a little bit more broad, and then versus some of them are narrowed down, where I think the drop down options would be really good. So platforms also, maybe that is a drop down also. Let's see what else. Also, just content pillars is normally something that is a drop down as well. So within the content type, if you have a reel, you would say, is that, real entertaining piece of content? Is it educational? Is it promotional? All of that. There's also
So it sounds like to me, like if we have content types, content pillars, platforms, maybe not campaigns, it sounds like the other table that we just simply need is a content table.
Yes, for the actual piece, I think linking the actual content piece within the table so you could view it, or at least having a section there of the topic of the content. And then depending on how in depth you want to kind of get into it, having captions built out within the calendar, if you can have it somewhere on the table, I think is really useful, especially if it's repurposed on all platforms. You have that same caption. And then and I think it would make sense then if linking somewhere on the table, then you link that, whether it's on a Google Drive or wherever it's hosted, you link that to the content piece.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I think what we're really diving into here, though, is kind of the fields of information that we need, and the first thing that we need to get is kind of is the structure, the tables and everything. Let's do this real quick. Let's use some AI. So what tables would you need in a simple content marketing application to track your clients' content and marketing efforts? So this is kind of, so clients' content campaigns is what this is suggesting. I know it's a little bit different than what, you currently do, but then you've got performance metrics. So, I mean, that's pretty simple. So, I mean, just for this example here, maybe we can just build like clients, content, and campaigns, and then we can start adding some of those fields that you mentioned there. And just kind of, just so that at least we can see the structure of developing an application in Buildable, because the structure is going to translate over even if you don't use these tables to using other types of tables and things like that. So let's go ahead and let's jump back in, and I'm going to go ahead and just build a new app. So build a new app. I'm on the home page of my Buildable account. Build a new app, build it myself, and I'll call this Marketing Manager. Go ahead and give it make it red today. We'll go ahead and create the application. Okay, so the application's been created. So what I just dropped into Grok was coming back and saying, we need clients, content, and campaigns. So actually, before I step into actually building the tables, let's go back to the content calendar real quick. So here are the 3 tables that we had right there. These will be more so kind of fields or drop downs. So what I like to do in this is, and you can look at what AI is actually suggesting here, clients need to be connected to content, clients need to be connected to campaigns, and then content needs to go against campaigns. So this is actually showing, and I don't want to confuse people, but this is showing what's called many-to-many relationships. That's not what Buildable does. Buildable does one-to-many relationships. We don't need to dive into that, but the AI is throwing us off a little bit here with that. So if we go back into this thing, so this draw.io, the way that I would structure this is that I would structure this as a customers connect to a campaign, and one customer, the way this arrow is pointing in a one-to-many relationship, this is basically saying one customer can have many different campaigns. That's pretty much what it says. And then if we look at the structure of this one, this would probably be like the content can go, a campaign can have multiple pieces of content. Now, I do understand content can theoretically be used across campaigns. If we were going to do something like that, we would actually have to create, not to confuse anyone, but we would have to create another table in between that would be called campaign content. And the way that would work is, since Buildable does one-to-many relationships, some systems do many-to-many, where like many campaigns could have many content and a direct relationship between them. Again, not to confuse, but just to give an example here. In Buildable, if you wanted to say that a piece of content could be used across multiple campaigns and that campaigns could have multiple pieces of content, you would actually put a table in between called a join table. And the relationship structure would actually look like this instead. So there would be one piece of content could have many campaign contents, and one campaign could have many campaign contents. That way, at one piece of content, you could attach to multiple campaigns, and one campaign you could attach to multiple pieces of content. But for today, for our use case, we're going to go ahead and just remove that table and make it very simple. And we're just going to say that we want it to be like this. So very simple app, 3 tables: customers, campaigns, content. It's going to have 2 relationships, one going from customers to campaigns and one going from campaigns to content. So this is what I like to do in the beginning. I don't worry about the fields so much, because fields can be added. You can add fields along the way. But if you're setting up a system and you want to start using the system, setting it up, relating it and building the structure right from the beginning is just like, building the foundation right on your house. Like, you want the foundation to be right, so that you can then build on top of that foundation. If the foundation isn't right, you got to start, wouldn't be nice to, a few years after you lived in your house, you got to start pulling away bricks and stuff like that, and cinder blocks and concrete from your foundation to restructure it. That just wouldn't be right. So you got to get the foundation right in the beginning. Fields, other things can be added along the way, and I always just start simple and then just start adding to it. But that's very, very basic. We'll go ahead and let's go ahead and create this now. So now we've got customers, campaigns, content. So going back into Buildable and going into my my first or my simple marketing manager that I just set up, I don't have any tables created. There's no tables shown over here, so it's asking me to create my first table. So the first table I'm going to create is going to be the customers table here. So we'll go ahead and we'll call that customers. And a single record is called a customer. So like I said before, once you have a table, when you start creating like customers in this table, each one of those customers in this table is a record. So it's saying, what do you want a single record to be called? Well, a single record is a customer. It's just the non-plural form of the name of the table for the most part. So we'll go ahead and create that. So it's adding the customers table in now. Now, I don't have any fields, so every table in Buildable comes with an ID field automatically built in. So what that means is that the first customer I were to add into this table is going to be customer number 1. The next one's going to be number 2. The next one will be number 3. It's going to count up from there. It has to have that ID for the way relational databases work. But so we create that field in the beginning, but we don't create any other fields, and that's not a field you can type into or anything. So before we move on to creating the other tables, we got to add a few fields to this table. There's a few different ways that you can do that, and as I mentioned last week on office hours, but ensure you have developer mode turned on if you are an administrator in the application. Otherwise, you're not going to have some of these options. So always be sure to check that. But the way I'm going to do it now, the way I'm going to add some fields into this table is going to be by clicking just manage fields right here. So I click that, and then I can hit new field. And the first one that I'm going to add is just going to be customer name. And I'm going to make that a text field. And show in table home will mean it'll show right here when I save it. If I turn show in table home off, it will not show on this main report of the table, but I'm going to leave that on, and I'm going to go ahead and make this required. And I'll make it unique while I'm at it, because I don't want 2 Walmarts in the system or something like that. I want my customers, there to only be one version of each of my customers' names. So I'm going to go ahead and I could hit done here, and that would create that one field, or I can hit plus, and that'll add that field and then take me into creating a new field. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus, because we're just going to add 1 or 2 more fields for our customers here, and then we'll move on to the other tables just because of time. So I'll go ahead and hit new, and now maybe we want their website. So we'll go ahead and we will select a website. We'll select URL, and I'm not going to make that required. I do want it to be unique though, so I'll go ahead and make it unique. Okay, so now what's another field that I want? Maybe I want the customer's phone number. And I'm not going to make that. Maybe I do want that unique as well. So I'll go ahead and add that. And then last field I'll add here. I mean, there are more fields I could add, but last field I'll add is just be the email. And I'll hit done this time because I'm not going to add any other fields. So created now this customers table, and I've now got 4 fields: customer name, website, phone number, email. I don't have any records because I haven't added any customers in yet. What I like to do when I'm building an app is I like to add even a test record in, just so that when I start building the other tables, I have something to play with. So as an example, we'll go ahead and we'll add a new customer in, call them test. And we'll go ahead and save this. Now, before I move on to the other tables, let's jump back into this real quick. And yeah, I added these 4 fields, and I just added this customer in the system. You can see it was created by me, date and time, updated by, but this form doesn't look real great. So before we move on to the other tables, and I know others that may watch this won't watch necessarily the previous week's office hours, so let's just real fast customize this form and clean it up a little bit. So there's a multitude of ways to get there, but I like to open up a record and then hit this little arrow right here and hit edit form. And now it brings me into my drag and drop builder. And I'm going to go ahead and just make it real simple for this one. Just make these fields smaller, throw them up next to each other. And make this section smaller. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to leave it like that. So now I've saved that form, and now it's bringing me back here, and you can see this form is now different than when we originally left it there. So now, close that out. Let's go back to our draw.io. So the next table that we're going to need is going to be this campaigns table. So from my buildable screen here, I hit the plus sign to add a new table. That's over in the left-hand side table section. As Ida mentioned on the call today, if you do not see your sidebar over there, you may have closed it or something. You go ahead and hit this. You can, from this window, hit new table, and now it's going to be build a new table. I would suggest, though, that you hit expand sidebar. So now you've got the sidebar back, and then it's there. You don't have to keep clicking up there, and you can hit the plus sign and create a new table. So for this one, call this campaigns, and new record is a campaign. And then I didn't do this on the previous table. We'll go ahead and click here to select a little icon. We're going to be getting a lot more icons here in the near future. So I don't know. We'll just choose this and give it a different color for this table. Oh, that yellow is killing me. How about orange? And then we'll create the table. So now it is creating the campaigns table. And you'll see the campaigns table is now showing up above my customers. If I didn't want that personal preference, I can actually drag that down. And now that'll show below that table. So this is drag and drop up here, over here, but that's based on the users. It's the users' preferences. So now we're in the campaigns table. So I'm only gonna, I know there's a lot of fields that we could have for campaigns, but I'm gonna create 3 fields. I'm gonna create campaign name, start date, end date, and then actually we'll make it 4 because we talked about adding like a platforms and stuff like that. So we'll create a platforms dropdown. And you know, there's others we could add like the content pillars and stuff, but just for time's sake, you know, we'll add one dropdown in. So from this screen, again, I'm going to go to Manage Fields. I don't have to do it through Manage Fields. You can hit the drop down here next to the table name, go into Table Settings, and then go into Fields. And from this field screen, you can hit New Fields as well. That one obviously is more clicks, but there's multiple ways to get to do the same thing. So in here, we'll call campaign name. We'll say it's required. Campaign start date. Make that a date field. Make that required. We'll default to the current date if we want. You know, that means when you go in to create a new record in the system, it'll already have today's date in it. You can modify it, but we'll leave it as defaulting a current date. A campaign end date. This we will not default to current date. Excuse me. Then the last thing is we're just going to create a drop down so we can show how a drop down is created. So we talked about, hey, we might want to know what platforms this campaign is working against or is working on. So let's go ahead and create a platforms drop down. But here's a kicker on what we're going to do. Last week when we created a drop down, we created a single select drop down, and that's where you can put multiple options in, but the end user can only choose one on each record. Today, and for this use case, we're actually going to create a multiple select. So it's a drop down just like a single select, except you can choose multiple options. And we'll turn on allow user to create options. So first option, just for this context, we'll say is Reddit, and we'll go ahead and choose a color. Red for Reddit. Facebook, or should I say Meta? We'll make that blue. Add an option for maybe X, and solely because it's Elon, we'll make that as black or close to black. And then I don't know. Let's just try one more for the heck of it. Let's do Instagram. And I don't know, purple seems right for that one.
So Meta would
Or-
actually, Instagram would fall under Meta since it's Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram. So you could do, I think LinkedIn would be a good one.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. So we'll do LinkedIn. Meta's got the blue. I'll go with the lighter blue for LinkedIn. Okay. So that was a good call out there, because it showed directly from this screen. I can actually click next to a field, hit edit field, and go in and change its options, or modify its details if I need to. So after I've created a field from this page, I can go in and do that. Okay, so we've got a test customer here in this table. Got campaigns in this table. Now I could say test campaign for test customer. Start date is already selected, default into today. Let's just set it out for, I don't know, June 30th. And the platforms, as I said, you can choose multiples. Maybe we would choose Meta, LinkedIn, and Reddit. But we're not going to do X with this one. So go ahead and save that. So now you can see this test campaign. You can see the start date, the end date, and you can see what platforms it's on. However, I put in the campaign name, it's for test customer, but if I go back here and I open up test customer, I don't see that campaign anywhere. It's not actually connected to this customer. That is because as of right now, what we've built so far is like that. Two tables in the system, but they don't talk to each other at all. They're siloed. Their information is siloed. They don't talk at all. So in order to get these tables to talk to each other, we have to build a relationship in the system. We have to relate them together. And this would be, so like, as an example in Buildaible, so on this test campaign right here, I want to be able to choose from the dropdown which customer it is from this table over here. And maybe I want some of the information from that customer to come down, like the website, their phone, whatever. So there are some more other fields we now have to create to do that. So on this page, we can go into, since I'm on the main campaigns table dashboard, I can go into manage fields here, new field. And the first thing that I'm gonna create is a field to link the customer to this campaign. So I'm gonna call it customer name, because it's a new field on this campaigns table. But I'm gonna choose this option right here, which is link a record. So if I go ahead and choose that, it's now I have some other options when setting up this field. So the first question is, which table would you like to link values from? I only have two tables in the section in this application. So I only have campaigns and customers, and I'm on the campaigns table. So obviously I don't want to link it from the campaigns. I want to link customers. So I hit this drop down, say customers. Now it's saying, which field would you like to look up? So what that's asking me is, hey, when I choose a customer for this campaign, what field from that customer do I want to choose? And that basically, what do I want to see in this dropdown to choose which customer? Well, it's going to be, in this case, the customer name. Like, I don't want phone number or anything. I'm not going to know which customer that phone number goes with. I want their customer name. So I am going to then choose that I want customer name as the field I would like to look up. So now if I hit done, this is going to add that link a record field to the campaigns table. And you'll notice on this one campaign I've already created in the system that is now blank. If I open this up, this record, to edit it, I can now choose from my customer list that's in the other table. The only one I have in the other table right now is test. Real quick before I do that, let's add a new customer to the customers table. Let's just call it Walmart, just for the heck of it. So we'll go ahead and create Sam Walton's email in there. So we'll go ahead and say this. So now we have two customers in this customers table. So now if I go back to the campaigns and I hit this drop down for customer name, I now see test and Walmart. So I see both customers from that other table. So I'm going to go ahead in this case and choose test. Go ahead and save it. So now that campaign is now linked to this test customer here. And maybe I don't want that showing over here. If I hit manage fields, I can actually move that customer name up top and save it. Now the customer name is right here. So I know that I have test, this is a test customer, it's this campaign. If I go back to the customers now and open up that test customer, I will see that campaign now down below it, because now there is a relationship between these two tables. So now I can see the information that is connected to this customer in the other tables. Now, I'm choosing the customer name, but as I mentioned before, I may want other information of that customer to come down here. And actually, before we do this, let me just customize this form real quick, just so we can read it a little bit better for this meeting. So let me make these a little smaller. Yeah, so I see this customer here, but I also want to see on this campaign record the customer's phone number, the customer's website. I don't want to have to retype that in because I already have that listed on that customer's record right here. So I just want, when I choose a customer on the campaigns, I want it to pull down that other information. So to do that, we need to add in another field or two. So let's get their website, let's get their phone number down here showing on the campaign when you choose a customer. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the table home, manage fields, and I'm going to create a new field. I'm going to call this field customer phone. And in this case, since it's coming from that other table, I'm not actually going to choose link a record because I'm already linking it to the customers by choosing the customer in the dropdown. What I'm going to choose in this case is I'm going to choose, I want it to be a lookup field. Lookup means you're just looking up data based on some other field. So when I hit lookup, it's going to say, hey, select the primary lookup field. Probably need to update maybe the text here, but we do have, help article here. But really what it's asking you is, what link a record field do you want to key off of? So we should probably update that text. The only one I have is just the customer name that I created on this table. So I'm just choosing that. And it's saying, and that all that's telling it is, hey, when you choose the customer name, what table should I look at or to get this information? So it's keying it off that customer name that I created. And now it's saying, what field would you like to look up from the customer's table? So in this case, I'm customer's phone. So I'm going to select phone and hit done. Actually, I'm going to hit a plus sign because I'm going to add in their website as well. We're going to do it the same way. So we're going to call this customer website. Lookup, linking it off the customer name that I choose, and I want to choose website. So now I'll hit done. So now, if you look over here, I just added those two fields to this table, but they already have information in them. It's already got the phone number, it's already got the website. And that is because it's already linked to a customer. So if I go back into this, you'll notice it says the customer's phone, customer's website. It's coming directly from this customer record here. If I were to change this, for instance, from the test customer to Walmart, now it's pulling down Walmart's phone number, Walmart's website. So that's the beauty of a relational database. You don't have to type things in multiple times. As long as you link tables correctly together and create the correct lookup fields, it's going to pull that information down when you choose, saving you a lot of time. Now, you could go out and build out the content table as well, but it's going to be the same type of setup, building, the table, the fields, and the relationships. So, it's a similar thing. I guess I would kind of pose the question to you guys, like, was that going over that right there and talking a little bit, I may have gone fast or but was that helpful at all in understanding kind of how to connect tables and how to start building the application?
Yes, that was super helpful for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I tried doing this myself, and I did get lost. So this was, it's a lot simpler. And I really love how there are so many different capabilities, and it keeps everything extremely organized. I was wondering if there could be some sort of template, just because there is so much that you can do, but it is a little bit, there's many moving parts to understand and to build everything out. And I do think that a lot of content calendars are pretty much, they all kind of look the same, of course, having different sections or I guess, content pillars may differ, things like that, which someone can then edit, but maybe having a starter template, I think, would be just really useful for a lot of people, especially when starting out, and then they can kind of go in and edit the template themselves. But I just thought that would probably be something quite useful.
Yeah, well, that's great that you mentioned that, because generally at the beginning of these office hours, I want to kind of cover some of the items that we are working on as a team and that we're going to be releasing in the not so distant future. So, you know, I just got word from our programming team today. We've finalized basically our templating based system. So in the next month, we are going to be releasing a feature that I talked a little bit about on office hours last week. But any account that signs up for Buildaible that comes in, there's going to be an option over here on the left hand side to get a free CRM. So it's going to start out as a CRM, but you're going to be able to click a button and it's going to pull in a CRM that the Buildaible team has developed with dashboards, forms, reports, all of that. You'll be able to click that. Any account will be able to click that, and within seconds have a fully built out CRM in their Buildaible account that they can go out and start just adding data to, further customize it, do whatever they want with it. But the cool part about it is that the code that we wrote to do that opens it up now to where we can, and not long after that, we are going to be releasing a template center. A template center that is probably going to take over that link that the CRM is, where it's actually, you're going to actually click a link and it's going to come up, it's going to have all kinds of different applications that are pre-built that with one button click can be added into your account, and you can just start adding data into and further customize if you want to. So that will be coming in a very, very soon. And we have plans to make it so that any user in any account, when they build an app, they can actually turn it on as a public app that gets added to the template center without their data in it, that can then be used by others. So not only are we as the Buildaible team going to be building a lot of templated apps, but the community is going to be able to build templated apps as well that others in the community are going to be able to use. And we have eventual plans that if you build a really good app and you want to put it out there, you may be able to even set it up to charge for it. So if you spent a lot of time building an application, there's obviously going to be tons of free apps in our template center, but there is going to be a paid version of apps that are going to be in there too in the future, where people that have really worked really hard and built great apps that others want to use can make a little money off of it. So that is coming very, very soon, right? And I'll even go a stretch further and show off something else here that's going to be coming in the very near future. So let's do something a little crazy here on office hours today. So let me go ahead and open up some code that I've been working on. Just gotta find it. Okay, so if you notice within Buildaible right now, when you hit build new app, we've got build with AI coming soon. Now, build with AI to create an app, aside from our template app center that we're going to have, is going to be coming to the product very shortly as well. and I can actually show off. It may look a little bit different than this in the future, but I can show off a little bit of how that's going to work. And I'll do that on today's call. So maybe that'll draw some people into some office hours in the future. So we start this up. Okay. Okay, so we are going to have 2 versions of our AI builder coming out in the not so distant future. One version is going to be a step-by-step. That's what I'm going to be showing off right here, where it's 9 different steps you basically go through and just answer some questions, and AI crafts the app for you, and in the end, it shows you what it's going to build, and you just click a button and builds it. We're going to have a tapered down version of this that does not have 9 steps, where you just answer these initial questions, hit next, and AI figures everything out on its own and then presents you with what it's going to build, and then you just click a button and build it. With this step-by-step version, you can kind of edit along the way a little bit if you want to, but AI helps you out a lot. But this is going to help a ton. I went to, on this office hours today, I went to Grok and typed in, what tables do we need for a, marketing content calendar? And it came back and suggested, well, our builder that's going to be within the product is going to do that for you. So let's go ahead just real quick on this office hours. We got about 5 minutes left, and let's do this. So the first thing you would do is you would come in and select an industry. So since today was all about marketing, let's say marketing. And then obviously within industries, there's all these different sub-industries, specific focuses. So let's just say content calendar, or not content calendar. Let's say social media. That's social media marketing. And let's say that we want it to be a content calendar to track clients and their campaigns. We'll say social media. You can pretty much type anything in here. You could say, I want to track just projects and tasks, or I want a CRM, or I want this, or I want that. So first time I've ever done this with marketing, so we'll see how well this code that I initially developed works, and how well the AI does it. So when you first click next here, it's actually going out and it's getting your tables. So bam, that sent that information that I just put in there to AI, and it came back and said, well, hey, looks like you need a clients table. We can drag these tables around. You need campaigns, posts, schedules, analytics, content items, and social media platforms. So it's kind of funny. Some of the tables we talked about, whether they were drop downs or tables, AI thinks that some of them should be tables. So it's funny that it mentioned some of these. Now, you do have the ability along the way here where you can add in things like, other tables if you wanted to. So you could hit test here, hit add, and that'll add it in. That's where the step-by-step builder allows you to edit some things along the way. Our quick builder that you just answer a few questions at the beginning doesn't. It just takes you straight to the end and shows you what it's going to build. So people can kind of choose your own path with this. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Now, sometimes tables need certain things. So like clients, well, hey, maybe you want to track, your communications with them. A lot of times we believe you should track your communications with them. So before you move to the next step in this, you hit check dependencies, and I believe that this one is going to add an interactions table in, since it has a clients table, so that you can, track your interactions with them. So we try to help you out a lot. We want to make this for non-software developers to be able to build. So I got and hit check dependencies, and bam, it did that. It did exactly what I said. It added in 2 tables. It said, okay, you have a clients table, but you need a contacts. You need to track which contacts you have at a client. And you need an interactions table with this because you need to track your communications with those clients. So not only is it a content calendar, a content manager, but it also is, keeping your communication with your clients. So it added those in. If you didn't want those, once you've done the check dependencies, you can remove them. So maybe I don't really want a contact, so I'll go ahead and remove that. Now when I hit next, before I talked about when we were building, doing the draw.io, I talked about if you wanted to create a many-to-many relationship in Buildaible, sometimes you need intermediary tables. That's what the AI is trying to figure out here. And we're trying to explain it in very simplistic terms what that means. So this one did come back and actually said, hey, you need clients campaigns. Because basically what the AI is thinking here is that, hey, you may have a campaign that you're running, but you may be running that campaign for multiple different clients. So that's where it's coming back and saying, hey, you need a table to go in between clients and campaigns. Now, you may not need that, but that's what the AI is believing, that you need to have this, structured correctly. So then you hit next, and now what it's doing is it's going through all of the tables that we have listed here, and it's figuring out, okay, what fields do I need for each of these tables? So it's automatically getting that from AI right now. I know we're coming up to our office hours time. I'm going to go a little bit over just to kind of finish this out. It's only going to take about 3 or 4 minutes to get there. But it's going through each of the individual tables right now and checking, what fields that it needs for those. It's at the client campaigns, and now it's generated the fields. So now it's came back and it said, hey, for your clients table, these are the different fields that you need. Even drop-down fields it comes back with. Even formulas. It comes back, and all the formulas in Buildable are Excel-based formulas, so it comes back with the Excel format of them. So this is figuring out, hey, between the start date and the end date, what's the duration of this campaign? So it's actually coming back with formulas as well. So it's coming back with all the fields that it thinks you would need from these tables. And again, you have the flexibility here to add in other fields along the way. So if you wanted like notes, for instance, for your clients, you would go ahead and add in notes. So that comes back with all of your fields. And then for all the different tables, and you can add and remove fields. You hit next. Now that is coming up with what your relationships would be for this. So this AI builder is trying to do everything for you, so you don't need to be a software developer. It gives you the ability to edit it along the way. If you don't like editing things, maybe our quick builder is the better route to go, that doesn't have you do these, give you these options. But this is figuring out everything. So now it's got the relationships or link a record fields, and now it's coming up with which fields should be the link a record and which should be the lookup fields like we created today. So for instance, for campaigns and posts, it's saying link a record should be campaign name. The lookup fields should be these fields. And that's for all the different relationships. And I hit next. And that takes me into generating the roles, what roles should be generated for this application. So it came back needing an administrator, a marketing manager, a content creator, and an analyst. Maybe we don't want the analyst, so we remove that. We're almost there. Moving to step 8 now. So we hit next on this, and this is now figuring out what permissions each of those roles needs in the table. Like, hey, administrator probably can access and do anything, but maybe the content creator can just modify their content. Or, well, let's see what the AI came back with them. So it looks like the content creator can view pretty much everything, but it can only edit and delete content items, posts, and schedules. And you can change this here on the fly if you wanted to as well. Oh, well, maybe I do want them to edit interactions, so I'm going to have them do that. I don't want them to delete them now. Finally, you hit next, and this is the last step where it just brings you to the review page and shows you, okay, here are all the core tables I'm going to create. Here's the join table. Here are the relationships. Here are the roles and their permissions. And here's the schema, which doesn't really matter if you're a non-technical user, but basically this right here is what is used when you hit create app to actually create your app in Buildable. So this is going to be our first, it may look a little bit different when we incorporate it, but our first AI builder that's going to be incorporated in, so that you don't need to know how to build an application. The AI will help you and will do it for you. And that's the whole goal of Buildable. So lots coming over the coming month. We've got our CRM being dropped in that anybody can gets a free CRM with their Buildable account. That's going to open up our template library that's going to be coming in the near future. Our AI builder is going to be incorporated very, very, very soon. Public API is going to be released very soon. So the next 30 days in the world of Buildable is going to be some drastic updates and drastic changes and new features coming. So anyway, join us for office hours every Thursday at 2 p.m. You can watch the recordings on YouTube, and happy building.